I was stuck. Hi guys, my name is Mayana and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. At first I was gonna wait until like closer to July to do the video, but then I saw like 75 people doing it and I felt FOMO, so I said okay, I'm just gonna film mine early. I wanted to wait until I read like certain books, but I already had the questions answered, so let's just get into the tag. The first question is best book you've read so far in 2022. The books I've read so far are Firestarter, The Way of Kings. Even though I haven't finished that book yet, I'm 45% through, but it's gonna be a 5 stars because I'm really enjoying it. So I'm gonna count it because I was gonna wait until I was done, but now I'm just gonna count it. Kiss the Sky and The Raven Boys. Kiss the Sky was like a shocker because I have read the Addicted to You series and I didn't like them. Like I don't care for Lillian Lowe, but I love Caballoway. Like I love Connor Cova. Like I love Rose Calloway. They mean everything to me. And at first I didn't read the series because I hated the fact that they don't get together in the book. Like you kind of see them getting together in the Addicted to You series, but not really. So I hate that you don't ever get to see like their stories, like them getting together. So I didn't read it. But then one day I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna read Kiss the Sky because I saw them. I love the new covers that they have, so I just decided to read them. And then I gave it 5 stars and I'm absolutely obsessed. And then The Raven Boys, it came to me in a dream, something which is very on point for the book actually. And I read it for a reading vlog, which the reading vlog should be up. That should be the next video that goes up so you can see my more like in-depth feelings on it. And I absolutely love the book. I gave it 5 stars. This was like my second time reading it and it just meant everything to me. It's like a new favorite series and I am obsessed. Yeah, next question is best sequel you read so far in 2022, and that will be House of Sky and Breath. Unfortunately, that book was just really good. I love the found family like aspects in the book, and I love like Rune, and I don't really care for Bryce or Hunt separately or together. I like that this book focused more on everybody else, especially like Thorian. I love him, and Rune, and this made me like so many characters. Hunt, even though she's like a villain, I just eat it up. Like she's a good villain. She does it very well. Next question is new release that you haven't started yet but want to. And so I'm gonna have to say Book Lovers. I do have it right here. I just bought the book. I didn't know if I wanted to read it at first because everybody was like, oh, like it's not really a romance. I honestly think that Emily Henry's books are mismarketed because they're more so like literary fictions than it is like romance. And I kind of didn't want to read it because everyone was saying how it was focused on the sisters and how the sisters they like don't get along. And I hate reading books where like the sisters don't get along because me and my sister are like really close. So when I read about sisters who don't get along, I'm like, why are you like this? But I hear the romance is really good, so I want to check it out simply for the romance, even though I know it's like, and it's long. And then I heard that the book, like the relationship happens so close, like so like soon in the book. But if I read it, if I go into it knowing it's a literary fiction instead of thinking of it as a romance, it makes more sense to me. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes more sense for a couple to start dating really early on in a literary fiction book than it does a romance book. And then I have the Blood Trials, which is a Black sci-fi book, and I'm really excited for this one. I held off on it because I thought it was gonna be YA, but then I was watching a reading vlog and I found out that this book is actually adult, and I was like, okay, period. I want to tell you what the book is about, but I forgot because I'm confusing it with The Blood Scorn, so I don't want to give you the wrong synopsis. But just know I really want to read the Blood Trials. It actually should be, I hope to read it in June, but I want to read it so bad. The cover is so pretty. And then I also have the Stardust Thief, which I do plan to read this month for Tahira's book club, the Inkra Trials, because I read this Woven Kingdom. I read the Woven Kingdom. I wasn't reading it for the book club, but I just so happened to read it for the book club. And then because I like hated it, well, I DNF'd it, and I wanted to like know what happened in the end, so I went to watch Tahira's live stream and I had a lot of fun. And then I was like, she was talking about the Stardust Thief, and then she said it was adult. I didn't know it was adult. I thought it was YA, and so I didn't want to pick it up because I just assumed it was YA. But then I found it was adult, so I was like, okay, I'll read it. And I heard it's supposed to be like inspired by Aladdin, and it has like the whole desert plot line, which I've only read in the City of Brass. Not they start with the fireworks already. The next question is the most anticipated book for the second half of the year. I have Fairy Tales by Stephen King, which is a portal magic book. It is about a kid who has portal magic, and that's all I know. But it's like Stephen King's fantasy. He has written fantasy before, and I think he's good at writing fantasy. The series itself was, I'm not even gonna talk about that, but I do think he's good at writing fantasy, and he's really good at writing like children and teens and stuff like that. So I just know this book is gonna eat, and I'm obsessed with the cover, and I just know it's gonna be so good. I have it pre-ordered already. And then the next book on this list is Babel by Earl Klein, because if you don't have this on your most anticipated list, then why don't you? This is a dark academia book, and it's a dark academia book, and it features a black girl, because there aren't a lot of dark academia books that have black girls. Like, they may have black guys, but they don't have black girls, so obviously I gotta read it just for that. But Earl Klein, I feel like she's gonna be my favorite author. I need to read, obviously I need to read Babel, and I need to read one more book, because I have the rule of 3 5-star reads that aren't in a series to consider them my favorites, and she definitely is almost on that list. And then the last book is Orientation by CM Stitch. So my reverse harem girlies, y'all know CM Stitch, I love her. She writes like mostly reverse harem, and in this series, so her 2 other series, the Adamson Academy and her other series, the Rich Boys from whatever that one's called, they're both actually going to be like a crossover novel, and I've never seen that done before, and I love both of those series. Like, I've read those 2 by her, and I love both of them, so them coming together. This book actually is coming out Monday, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to read it. Like, it's gonna eat. The next question is biggest disappointment, and we all know that is Book of Night, because if you've read that book and it's not on your list, then did we read the same book? Book of Night was just so disappointing, and not even because like it didn't have a romance, but I personally, as like a tarot reader, I didn't like how in the world she made it seem like tarot card reading was like fake and like didn't make sense, even though it was a magical world. She made it seem like people who were doing tarot card readings were like scammers, even though magic exists. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and the book was just so boring, and the main character Charlie was just like so bland. It just was not good. And I just really feel like Holly Black should really just stick to writing her Folk of the Air series, because I had so much high hopes, especially for an adult fantasy, and like I wasn't expecting romance or anything. It's not that easy to go from like YA to adult, and I don't know why authors think it's just super easy to do that. Just because one thing I noticed that authors don't do when they go from YA to adult is they don't focus on making the characters feel adult. Like, they write teenagers and then put them in adult world, and they say they're like 37, and it's like, no. The next book on this list is The Dragon's Bride by Katie Roberts. This wasn't like the worst book I've ever read. Like, I gave it 3 stars, but I've been reading Katie Roberts a lot recently, and that book just so happened to not make it on the tops list. It was like a monster like romance, and it freaked me out. And also I didn't like, it was like really short. It was 100 pages, and I didn't like how it didn't like explore the world. But also I read Neon Gods by her, and it's like she writes these fantasies, but she doesn't like expand the world. Like, she doesn't, it's like, what's the point of writing fantasy if you're not gonna talk about the world? It's like, I know they're romance, but don't put them in a fantasy setting if you're not gonna actually focus on the world. And then the last book is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Actually, in order to be disappointed, I would have to care about the book, but I didn't care about it in the first place, because I mean, her whole brand is Raylo, and I'm trying to be a Star Wars girl, but it's taking forever. Okay, so I'm not really a Star Wars girl. Don't know who Raylo is, but people either really hate them or really love them. I just think it's really interesting that all of her books published are fan fictions, but the more you read them, the more they read exactly like fan fictions. And I just feel like if I'm gonna pay for a book, then it shouldn't read as a fan fiction. The next question is biggest surprise, and for this one I say It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I was not expecting to like this book, especially because if you've been subscribed to me for a while, then you know that like I don't necessarily love like Colleen Hoover. Like, she has like her books are kind of bland, but this one wasn't really a romance book, and I think that's why I liked it, because I don't think Colleen Hoover can write romance very well. I mean, I've said it before. A lot of people, like, you know, a lot of my subscribers agree with me. Colleen Hoover is not the best at writing romance whatsoever. And so, yeah, but I really like this one just because, like I said, it wasn't romance and it did focus on like heavy topics. I personally think that she wrote it very well, but that's because from my experience it was pretty well. And the next one is Zodiac Academy. I read Zodiac Academy last year, exactly a year ago. I read it in June, and I didn't really like it the first time around, but as a girl who got into zodiac, got into astrology reading it, I really appreciate the book. Not for like the romance or the plot lines or anything else like that. I just really like the astrology aspect of it, and I thought it was really well done, and so that's why I like the books. But also, I haven't gotten further than book 2. So the next question is favorite new author, debut, or new to you. And for this I have no comment, because every author I've read so far this year has either been an author that I've already read before, or an author that I did, they were new to me but I hated their book. So, but I've only read 61 books, and also it's really hard to call someone my new favorite author. Like, I can't just read a book by you and be like, oh my gosh, she's my favorite author. Like I said, I have to read 3 books by yours, not in a series, and it ought to be 5 stars. And I don't have a favorite author yet. So I mean, besides Grady Hendrix, but he's like my favorite horror author. So like, I don't have a favorite like author yet, so I can't just pull one out of my ass. So okay, the next one is newest fictional crush, and I'm gonna have to say Ethan from Crescent City 2, because he was just so hilarious, and he just gives like himbo vibes, and he's just so cute. And like, I would say any guy, like Rune, Therian, like all the guys besides like Hunt, all the guys from Crescent City, like they are great. But Ethan, like he's just such, like he gives me like golden retriever himbo vibes, and I love that for me and him. And then I also have Connor Cobalt, which is cheating, because I technically, like, I've read him last year or 2 years ago. Like, I loved him in Addicted to You series, but because this is my first time reading Kiss the Sky, and like he wasn't the main character in Addicted to You, so I'm gonna count him as a book boyfriend, even though that's technically cheating. And then the next question is newest favorite character. So when I wrote this at like 3 a.m. and so for the first answer for this question, I put me. I have no recollection of writing this or any reasoning as to why I wrote this. And then the next person I have is Tori from Zodiac Academy. I think that Tori is freaking hilarious, which is very ironic because I'm not gonna lie, in Zodiac Academy, Darcy and Tori read very similar, but I can tell the difference from them because Tori's one-liners are hilarious. Like, she can drag, okay? She can drag. So that's how I can tell them apart, is because somebody will say something really snappy, I'm like, oh, that's Tori. And then the 10th question is books that made me cry. I don't cry when I read books, and I purposely don't read books that'll make me cry. I'm already depressed. I really don't want to be sad too. That's just too much for me. And then the 11th question is books that made you happy. And I'll have to say Raven Cycle. I am reading this series for the first time. Like I said, for a reading vlog that should be up like within the week that I'm posting this video. And I would have to say, like, I'm just so obsessed with the Raven Cycle. Like, now reading it as like a spiritual girl, like I definitely understand what they're talking about, like the family. I love the family. I love the found family. And then this book has one of my favorite tropes, which is the only girl being a friend of like groups of guys. I eat that trope up every single time, and this one just gave, and it was good. Okay, I definitely see, like, usually I'm like, oh, I understand how people read books off of like vibes instead of plot, but I definitely can see now. I definitely can see, because the vibes are vibing. And then the next question is most beautiful book you've bought or received. And because I quit my job recently, I've been focusing on not buying books that I think, just buying books based off of covers. I definitely am trying to be like more cautious of that, and I'm trying to buy books that I've already read, because I'm getting them off of Libro and Libby and Audible and Scribd and all the I'm getting off like all the subscription things I have. So I'm trying to focus on buying books that like I've already read, or buying books I know I'm gonna like. But one book I can say is Promise of Fire. I just think that this cover is so pretty, and this is like a fantasy romance, which the fantasy romance books give. I need to start reading more of them because I love the fantasy romance covers, and I just want to like own them all, collect them all, and support the authors because I know that they're like self-published. But I'm gonna have to show this book closer up because I think this cover is really pretty, and this is a cover change, I believe. But and I also have Rhythm of War, but I'm not digging in that pile. So oh my gosh, there's art. Okay, and the last question is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? So I have a very long list. Okay, so I tried to keep it short and keep it on like my like immediate TBR. I have Jade City by Fonda Lee, which I sprayed the edges. If you want to see a video of me spraying the edges, you should join my channel membership because I have a video specifically of me spraying the edges. But yeah, I have Jade City. I was reading this book, and I'm doing a reading vlog for The Way of Kings, the Stormlight Archives, and I want to do a separate reading vlog for the Greenbone Saga, and I already am filming like a bunch of other reading vlogs at the moment, so I'm just gonna hold off on reading this so I can film that vlog as well. That's the only reason why I stopped reading this, because I am having fun reading it. And then I have My Heart is a Chainsaw, I almost said Grady Hendrix, by Stephen Graham Jones, and I have to read this book because I'm a horror movie girly. I'm a horror movie enthusiast, so the fact that I have not read this book yet is an actual crime. So I want to read this book, but I'm kind of holding off because it's going to be a trilogy and the second book isn't coming out until next year, so I want to hold off. But also I want to read it, and I know I'm going to like it because Lala loved it and we have the same taste. So I know I'm going to eat this book up. The next two books I have are by the same author, and that is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife and Fool Me Once. I know that this author is going to be my favorite simply for the fact that she writes romance and thrillers, and I just love the duality of it all. And the fact that she basically is going to be probably releasing 2 books a year, a romance book and a thriller book, like, you know, every year, and I love that. And she has another book coming out that I also want to read, so I just need to like hurry up and get into her, because if I like these 2 and then her third one, I can consider her my favorite author and not even just be like, oh, my favorite romance author or my favorite thriller author. She would just be my favorite author because these, like, she's just very, what's the word I'm looking for? She just had a lot of duality to her, and I like that. And then I have One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake, who wrote The Atlas 6, and I want to read this one because it sounds really good. It is a Romeo and Juliet retelling but with witches, and I read the first chapter and I really liked it, but then I saw the book was like 600 pages, so I was like, okay, we're gonna hold off on this. And I'm so mad because I went to go buy the book and it sold out, and because she announced that that one and Masters of None and Alone with You in the Ether are all getting like republished, and it really irritates me that the book is not, One for My Enemy isn't coming out until next year, but I have to wait until next year to buy the book now, because I just don't understand why publisher companies do that. Because why can't y'all just let Olivia Blake get her coin? Because you want to be selfish. You want to be selfish, and that's what the problem is. Okay, and then I have Every Summer After, which I did just haul this in my book haul. This book is basically kind of like People We Meet on Vacation. It's about these 2 friends who were like in love, and then she, like, something happens, she moves away, she comes back for a summer, and they like kind of, I don't want to say pick back up where they left off, but they kind of like do, but it's like a second chance romance, and I love second chance romances, and I love the People We Meet on Vacation thing. And then somebody also said The Summer I Turned Pretty vibes, which I didn't love, but I love the vibes of The Summer I Turned Pretty. So I'm very excited to read this one when I'm back in my romance era. And then I have Blindside by Candy Steiner. This one, I forgot what this one was about. I saw an ad for it. Like, this book literally just came out, but somebody marketed it very well. I think it is like a fake dating trope where, like, obviously he actually falls in love with her, but it's a fake dating trope. And I have never read Candy Steiner before, but I do own one of her books. The next book I have is The Eye of the World. I really want to read this one because I'm reading The Way of Kings and I really like it, and I really regret unhauling it because I thought I wasn't gonna like it because it's like a big book, and I was like, well, I don't know. But now that I'm reading the Way of Kings, and they're very similar because Brandon Sanderson also finished off the series, so like I feel like they're gonna be very similar, and I feel like I'm going to really like the book. And then the next book I have is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I read Emma last year and I loved it, and Persuasion is getting a new movie with Dakota Johnson, and I love the old movie, but the guy in the movie, he wasn't that attractive, but the guy in this one is very attractive. And like I love these like old like Regency era books getting like, well, movies and books getting like newer movies every single year. So I definitely need to read this one, and maybe it'll put me back in my classics era, and then I can pick up some other classics. But for now, we'll just say Persuasion. And then the last book I have is stuck behind this pile of books. So Project Hail Mary, I really need to up my sci-fi game this year, and so I really need to check out this one because I've watched The Martian and I really like The Martian. I just haven't read it yet, and then I just know I'm gonna like Project Hail Mary, and I think it might be getting turned into a movie. So I really want to check that out. That is all for this video. Don't forget to join my channel membership and to comment your best and worst book of the year so far, and like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.